Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We've both got our summer colors on today.
Flowery. Okay, let's see if my door shuts. Don't want it to slam. All right, so we'll give it a little bit of time. I know that we had, we did like a calendar invite, and we had quite a few people on, more than 7 right now. But
Okay, yeah, we can give it a few minutes.
are you at your house?
What?
Listen to how Minnesotan I said that. Are you at your house?
No, I'm at my mom's in Florida. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh, no. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm down here with her, and my mom's house it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of small. I want to say it's probably like 1,400 square feet. So there's not really anywhere for me to go. So I'm like, well, I'm going to sit at the kitchen table. Hope you guys don't mind.
Did you get the Sahara desert storms yet?
No, not yet. My sister lives near Houston though, and she said that they can't even go outside right now. So that's pretty
Really?
wild.
Yeah, they said that the sunsets are going to be amazing. Like it's even coming to Minnesota. Like it's going to travel that far. They said like in, I think 5 days or something, or 6 days. They're like,
Weird.
"Oh,
It's
the
so
sunsets."
weird.
That is weird. Like sand from the Sahara Desert. Like what's the long
Yeah,
ways? It's coming a long
yeah,
ways.
pretty crazy.
All right. Well, we got a couple more people on.
Yeah.
So is it nice and warm in Florida?
Yeah, it's so humid. It's like a steam room walking outside. I live in Denver where it's super dry. So it's just
Yeah.
totally different than Denver.
Yeah.
And for anyone on the call who thinks I'm down here vacationing, I'm not. I'm not one of these people that's just discounting COVID. We have some family things that we're attending to. So that's why I'm with my mom. So I'm like staying put in the house. We're not going anywhere. So, anyways, there's so many tourists down here. The restaurants are packed. It's like a free for all. I'm like, we still have concerns about this whole COVID thing. So, we should probably not be doing quite that much. And I'm all for businesses being open. So, hear me on both sides. I just think there's a correct, way to be safe about it. And down here, it's like a freaking party for all the tourists.
That's
Anyways, we're just chatting while we're waiting for more people to join. So if you just joined and you're like, what's going on? That's where we're at.
So, would you like to see faces when I do PC? I'm always like, okay, let me see your faces. It's almost, well, we're past the Brady Bunch right now. That's always fun when it's 9 and it's like the Brady Bunch.
Oh, yeah. I leave it up to whatever you want. If people want to show their face, great.
Hey,
So is this your productivity coaching group?
there's 1, 2, 3.
Because this was open to everybody, right?
Yeah, open
Okay.
everybody.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. And I'm going to guess we have a variety of levels of experience.
We do.
Okay, cool.
Yes. So I think it's safe to get started. So hello, everybody. This is Brittany. She was with us for our team meeting at the beginning of the month. And she was on Lance Loken's team and had 199 closings, which is amazing, in a year. And so she's going to share with us her 7 secrets.
Yeah. Hi, Olivia. Yes, thank you so much, Jessica, for having me, and to everyone who's joined. Thank you for being here. My name's Brittany Brands, and yeah, I used to be an agent on the Loken Group. The Loken Group is the #1 team in Keller Williams. And when I was on the team, I sold 199 houses in 1 year, thanks to my amazing MAPS coach, Olivia. So I had to give her a shout out there. Olivia was my MAPS coach during that time. So I have quite a few connections to the office. And Jessica, I don't even know how we ended up meeting and how you got into the group. I don't know how that all happened.
It was a post that we had. It was for the very first Friday. that you and Natalie were doing GAP. And
Yeah.
it was your very first one. And then I signed up and then did the week-long course. And then that was like, what was that, like March, end of March or something? Like COVID was brand new, like maybe
Yeah.
2 weeks old or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jessica and I met because a good friend of mine, Natalie, and I joined together when COVID was at its beginning stages. And we're like, we got to keep agents fired up. And somehow Jessica got into the class, and we're now doing a monthly membership, which I'll share a little later in the session here. So let me go back to a little bit about me, my background, and why I'm even here today. I believe I shared a little bit about my story at the team meeting. Did I share a little bit during that meeting, Jessica? I don't even know if you recall.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'll
share again.
Make it pretty short because honestly, we could spend the entire hour talking about my whole story, because there's not one area of my life that hasn't played into where I am today, which is same for everybody in the room. We could all share this crazy story of how you got into real estate and what brought you here and what got you there and everything. So to keep it as short and sweet as possible, about 7 years ago, I was a 4th grade teacher. And prior to becoming a teacher, I was a job hopper. I don't know if anyone on the call can identify with that. I was never satisfied. And every job that I got, I was like, oh, this is going to be the next best thing. Oh, this is going to be the next best thing. And then I would like quit like 9 months later and like, no, this. And I felt really guilty about that. And looking back, and I still have a lot of this in my blood to this day. Looking back, what it really means is I'm just not satisfied and I'm constantly working towards the next thing. So no need to feel guilty about that. If it's not the right fit, decide quickly, move on. So here I was, I have a master's in elementary education, became a teacher, taught 1 year, just one, before deciding, nope, not for me. I want to make more money. I know I have more to give. Let's see what can come up next. Well, my sister was an agent with Keller Williams. She convinced me to get into real estate. And I thought, okay, this is it. I can make this everything that I want. The money potential is there. This is going to be fantastic. So I joined a team in Denver. And I had moved to Denver. I'm originally from St. Louis. So, more of a Midwest girl like you guys. Moved to Denver to be with my boyfriend at the time, and got into real estate, joined this team, and it wasn't the right fit. And I thought, okay, Brittany, here we go again. What are you going to do now? Wasn't the right fit. And I'm just like beating my head against the wall. Well, the Loken Group came to visit, and I'm sitting in the audience, and I'd never heard of them. And at that time, because this was, let's say 6.5 years ago, at that time, not many people had heard of the Loken Group. Sitting in the audience, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this team, they just blew my mind. They had such great relationships. The culture was amazing. Their systems and processes were amazing. Everything was great. So I'm sitting in the audience like, okay, I'm taking pages and pages of notes. How can I learn from what this team is sharing and implement it with the team that I'm on here in Denver? So, the weeks following, I go back to this team and I'm telling the team leader, let's do it this way. The Loken Group does it this way. Well, we should do this because the Loken Group does it this way. And they probably got sick of me talking about the Loken Group. So that went on for probably 2, maybe even 3 months. Well, then family reunion rolls around, the big Keller Williams convention. So I go to family reunion and I run into Lance and the team, which there's 20,000 people there. What are the odds? And I not run into them one time. I run into them like 5 times. So the initial time that I run into him, I go, Lance, I don't know if you remember me. I met you guys in Denver. I still to this day don't even know if he remembers me because, I was just this young girl in the audience, just gaga over their team. And I'm like, Lance, I don't know if you remember me. I met you guys in Denver and I've been obsessed with your team. Haven't been able to stop talking about you since. And he says, if you're so obsessed with the team, why don't you just move down and join the team? And I'm like, no, I couldn't do that. I have this boyfriend in Denver. I have this life in Denver. no, everything's great in Denver. There's no way I could do that. And 3 weeks later from that conversation, I had talked to like everybody on the team over the phone. He flew me down for like 24 hours. I met everybody. 3 weeks later, packed up my car, moved down, no looking back. And I tell that part of my story because look, I could tell you the part of the story where I was, selling 200 homes. That part of the story to me was where I truly took the jump. And I'm so thankful for that opportunity and the fact that I was willing to do that. And during that time, I make it sound easy. It wasn't easy. I was the job hopper. I beat myself up for that. I thought I kept coming to dead end after dead end after dead end. No, it was just leading me to what I really wanted. And you just got to make sure your eyes are open to that. So when I moved, lots of tears. No one in my family wanted me to do it. That's a whole nother story because we got to fight through that. My sister was an agent in Houston. I was joining another team, so now we're competing. None of it, like all signs pointed, no, Brittany, you shouldn't do this. Yet I knew it was what I wanted. It was best for me. So I go down and do it. When I moved there, had $500 in my bank account. 4 months later, I had $15,000. Now remember, I was a teacher, and this to me was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even believe it. Like, fall to my knees in gratitude. What did I just do? And it got really fun after that because I thought, if that's what I can do in 4 months, when I align myself with the right people, where can I take it from there? So go on to become the listing agent, challenge myself, hire a coach, Olivia, MAPS coach. I just took every opportunity I had and sucked the life out of it. So when you look at your office, because this does not mean you have to go join a team. And if you're considering a team, please reach out to me because there's so many pros and cons. This means look at the people you're around, look at who you can learn from, look at the books you can read. What if you decide to fully embrace all those things? What are you really, really capable of? So that's what I learned during that time. Now, what I'm going to talk to you all about today is the part of when I sold all those listings, what did I really learn from that? Because we would have people come down and visit. So when I was in Houston and I'm an agent with the team, we'd have people come down and visit and observe the team. And like, Brittany, your numbers are clearly higher than any of the other listing agents. What are you doing differently? What makes you able to sell more than other people on the team? Because you think, okay, we have ISAs setting the appointments, we have the same marketing, we have the same, essentially all the same things. What was I doing that allowed me to sell more houses than the other listing agents? I couldn't really give them an answer. I could not answer that. I thought, I don't really know. I mean, I'm no better than them, which is true. I'm not doing anything different, which is not true. I think we're all doing something a little bit different. And I couldn't answer it at the time. So I end up staying with my boyfriend. Remember who I just left in Denver? We dated long distance. Gets to a point where we're like, okay, we probably need to live in the same city again. So I did move back to Denver and left the team. And it wasn't until I left Denver that I could really answer, or left Houston and left the team, that I could really answer that question of what was it? What did I do different? If I could take all my experiences and package it up, what would that look like to be able to share with all of you? And I remember thinking about this and writing about it. And I think I had pages and pages and pages of like, what did I learn? What do I think I did differently? What did I do well? What could I take from my experience and share with all of you? And it came down to 7 things. And this is how I came up with my 7 secrets. And I'm going to share these with you today. And as I go through them, you may think they're so simple. and that there's so much to be said. We could probably take each one and spend a whole nother class on each separate one because there's so much depth to it. So when I tell you the one-liner secret, I'm also going to share with you an example, a story, to really get you to understand the depth of what I'm sharing. So, are you ready to hear the 7 secrets? Because we can go ahead and dive in. All right, here we go. Number 1, and I don't have a visual because it's really straightforward, so you can just write them down. Let me share with you an example before I tell you the secret number 1. Let's say you're in a restaurant, and we can think, pre-COVID. We're in a restaurant, and you're with a group of, let's say, 10 people from the office. And you all decided it's 5 o'clock, you're gonna do a happy hour, you're gonna get a few drinks and some appetizers. Not gonna eat a heavy dinner. You guys are gonna be there maybe an hour and a half. So you have your group together and you're like, yep, let's just go to get a drink, small bite, we're good, we can have a great time. So you go into this restaurant, and it's actually a fancy restaurant. But remember, you're not gonna eat like, a steak dinner or anything like that. So you sit down at the table and the waiter comes over and the waiter says, hi, how's everybody doing? And you're like, oh, good, yeah, hi. And he says, okay, let me tell you, did you guys know we're the #1 restaurant in Minneapolis? And we have the best steak and lobster you'll ever have in your life. And it's this cut of meat and the lobster's from here. And we do this to prepare it and blah, 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 blah. And you're all sitting there kind of thinking like, we're not going to order the steak and lobster because we're just here for a drink. But the waiter doesn't know that, right? And he's selling you and selling you and selling you. And you're like, you're just not even really listening to what he's saying, especially if you're a high D. You're just kind of like, yeah, it doesn't apply to me. So, okay, whatever. So, do you have any connection to this waiter at this point? You're just like, man, will this guy shut up? Like, this has nothing to do with what we want. No connection. No connection. Now, what if instead he came over and said, how's everybody doing? What are you all getting together for? Oh, great, you work for Keller Williams? Oh, that's so neat. So what are you celebrating something, or what's the reason you're out and about? Most likely someone's going to say, no, we're just here for a happy hour. We're going to get drinks and some small appetizers. Or he's going to say, what are you guys looking to do? Are you looking to do drinks, food, dinner? By him asking you questions, you immediately feel connected, don't you? And you feel like, yes, we're on the same wavelength. He understands me. So secret number 1 is ask questions. And you're like, okay, duh. There's so much power in this though. And it's really twofold. Number 1, people like talking about themselves. When you allow them to talk about themselves, they will like you, particularly as it pertains to the listing appointment. So if we parallel this to the listing appointment, a lot of agents go on a listing appointment and they say, well, I'm the number, and let's just say Logan Group. Well, we're the #1 team and we sold the most houses in Houston, and I've personally sold blah, 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 blah. And they don't care, even though many agents think that's what I need to come in with. I need to come in and tell them all about myself. So change your perspective there and think more about what is most important to this client. And then I'm going to bring in that to meet their needs. Until you fully understand their situation, there's nothing more for you to say. So to bombard them with information in the same way that that waiter would say, we have the best steak and the best lobster and this and that, you don't have to even go there until you ask them all the questions first. So rule number 1, ask questions. Let me take it even a step further before we go on to number 2. Because this can be applied in so many different areas, and I want you to really get it in your head that when you don't know what to say, always divert to ask a question. We talk about scripts a lot and memorizing scripts and knowing what to say. And let me give you an example where asking questions comes into play as it pertains to scripts. Let's say you were working with a buyer prior to COVID and you'd shown him a couple houses, and then of course COVID happens, couldn't take them on showings, and everyone just kind of pumped the brakes all around and said, well, wait a minute. You hadn't talked to this buyer maybe in several weeks. You've attempted to call them, they didn't call back. And you're like, wow, I really need to connect with them. So you call them back again, finally connect with them. And they say, you know, Brittany, so sorry we haven't talked. We're gonna wait to buy. We're gonna wait until next year. What would you say to them saying, I'm gonna wait to buy? And Jessica, maybe you could answer.
They say I want to wait to buy.
Yeah.
Wait, no. And who am I? I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. If the buyer says, you know what, Jessica, we're going to wait to buy, as you as the agent, what would you say?
Tell me more about that.
Okay. You're not the best example. So
okay.
let me tell you.
Why do you want to wait?
Because most of you are thinking, oh, want to wait to buy. Well, did you know that interest rates are really low? Did you know that? And we want to spit facts at them, don't we? That's what we're trained to do. We memorize the scripts. We spat it right back to them. We know what to say. And what if this buyer says, well, we actually had a death in the family and we need to wait until next year? You're going to be like, I feel like a total dum-dum for talking about interest rates when they have like a family issue going on. So Jessica, you handled it perfectly. I wanted to guide you into, well, we could say, you know, interest rates are great. So this rule of ask questions really goes so much deeper, because when you can really focus in on the client, you don't have to be so hung up on if this, then that. If they say they're going to wait, then we have to answer it in this way. And here's the script. Take a step back and think, oh, and Jessica, what you said was perfect. Like, well, you're going to wait? What's going on? Or what's changed for you? That's what we want to get to. Well, and now there's obviously a time and place to talk to them about interest rates. So we want to hear what they have to say first and then go there. So, all right. I think I've drilled that one down pretty good. Ask questions. So important. And again, specific to the listing presentation, my listing presentation is mostly questions, because when they do most of the talking, they like me more, always. Number 2, let me give you another scenario before I tell you rule number 2. Let's say you go to a financial planner and you have some money that you're like, you know what, I need to figure out, where can I invest this money? I'm going to go to a financial planner, set a meeting. I need their expertise and I need their guidance. You go to the financial planner, you go in, it's this nice, beautiful office. You're sitting in the waiting area and the financial planner comes out and says, oh, Brittany, like, thank you for meeting with me. This is great. Come on back. And she says, oh my gosh, I just love your earrings. Where'd you get them? And I'm like, oh yeah, the Kinder Scott, whatever. Okay. Oh my gosh, I love Kinder Scott. Do you go there when it's your birthday and you get the 50% off? And she's talking to me all about Kinder Scott. And then she's like, do you want a coffee or water? And I'm like, no, thank you. Oh, do you not drink coffee? I love coffee. Oh, coffee. Then we finally sit down and she says, oh, so tell me, what are your goals? And I start telling her, well, my goals are, you know, I'd really like to buy a beach house in Mexico. You know, that's a financial goal of mine that I'd like to save up money to do that. Oh my gosh, Mexico? Where in Mexico? We go to Mexico every year with my family. Okay, what would you be thinking about this financial planner? You'd be thinking, wow, like, can we just like, can we talk, you know, like, I'm here to talk about like my goals. I mean,
you get to business?
Can we get down to business? And I'd be kind of questioning, like, is this the professional that I want to work with? I mean, if I had a lot of money to spend, let's say 500,000 to spend to invest, I'd be thinking, I don't know if this is the right fit. Okay. Now, take the same scenario, let's plug it into real estate. When you're on a listing appointment, do you say, oh my gosh, I love your flowers. Oh, picture of your family when you're at Disney World. When did you guys go to Disney? How fun. We go to Disney every year. See the similarity. Now with real estate, we think when we go on listing appointments that it's a good thing to have all these commonalities and make the small talk. Do you want to be perceived as the agent who is asking about, oh my gosh, these hydrangeas in your front yard, how do you keep them so beautiful? Or do you want to be the agent that says, do you have a price in mind that you'd like to list your house for? Because there's a big difference. And you lose a lot of professionalism when you have a lot of chat going on. So rule number 2 is no small talk, particularly in the listing appointment. And you're like, but Brittany, my clients love me. They love talking to me. I'm telling you right now, get the listing agreement signed and then have all the small talk that you want and build the relationship from that point on. From the time you walk in the door to the time they sign, you are there to talk about getting their home sold, nothing else. This does not mean you're a robot. This does not mean you come off cold. I'm still very warm and friendly. So let me just give you a visual as how this would go. When they come to the door and I'm at the door, knock, knock, I'm smiling. Hi, how are you? I'm Brittany. So nice to meet you. Brittany, come on in. Oh my gosh, we're so glad you're here. Where would you like to sit? Or where would you, normally that's what they say. If we could sit at the kitchen table, that would be great. So we walk into the kitchen and I say, before we sit down, I'm going to just set my things here. And if you could show me around the house first, that would be great. Perfect. So when they're showing me around the house, I'm from St. Louis. If I see a Cardinals baseball something, of course I want to say, oh my gosh, are you guys Cardinal fans? Are you from St. Louis? I have to stop myself. I'm not even going to go there. I'm walking through the home and the only questions I'm asking are those that pertain to the house. When did you update the kitchen? When did you put the hardwood floors in? That's it. And I'm also not gushing like, it's just beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love your decor. I don't go there. I'm professional and I'm only commenting about the things that are pertaining to the value of the home. Now, if the seller says, oh, this is my son's room and it's decorated with soccer balls because he loves soccer, you don't have to say, okay, you can say, oh, that's great. Oh, that's so neat. Where you're going to stop is don't ask any questions to keep them there. You're just going to approve of what they're saying and move on. Because sellers are always going to bring up things off topic or explain something in their house. And it doesn't mean you have to be cold and non-conversational. You're just not going to say, oh, does he play soccer? Oh, how old's your son? You're not going to engage in that way. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So that's rule number 2, no small talk in the listing agreement, a listing appointment. Now, I'm just going to say one last thing about that. Once you get the agreement signed and you're about to walk out the door, then you can make small talk and you can say, so how old's your son? Or if they're selling because they're moving, because their son's going off to college, you could say, oh, where's your son going to college? You're going to play soccer there. And you can make some quick comments as you're walking out the door. So that to me was a huge aha. And I know that I gained so much more credibility when I stuck to that. And here, okay, one last thing that I'm going to add because I think this is important. I've gone on so many appointments where they say, it's 6 p.m., sometimes 7 p.m. at night, and they say, can we get you a glass of wine or beer? You know how many times I would have loved to say, yeah, sure. I never did. Because I want to be a professional first, period. So that's another little tidbit there. Okay, moving on. Number 3. I'm going to give you the scenario, then I'm going to tell you the lesson. I was supposed to get married in September. That has changed. When we were doing our invitations, I had a friend put the invitation together. Oh, is the connection fuzzy? Oh no. Let me check my internet here. Good. Is it okay now? Darn. Let me close out some things on my computer. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, it was good, but then it was because you weren't talking.
Oh,
so
okay. Is it good now?
So that we can tell. Yeah, it's getting better.
It's getting better. I'm just gonna see, like, I don't know if maybe closing out some of these windows on my computer would help a little bit.
It sounds good now.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. All right, let me know. And just so you guys know, putting it in the chat helps me because I'll just see that before anything else. Okay, cool. So I had these wedding invitations created. I had my friend do them, so I needed to find a printer, like a printing company to print them. So I call this local print company and he's like, oh yeah, send us an email with the attachment. Let us know how many copies you need and any other details, send it over. So I send him this email and I mean, it's like how much more simple can it be? It's front and back. I need 150 printed. I need, color, and I wanted a certain thickness and then the size of it. That's it. Tell me how much. He writes back with a question in an email. I write back with an answer. He writes back with a question. I write back with an answer. It gets to the point where I look back at my emails. We had gone back and forth 27 times over a wedding invitation. And my aha from this was, I was ready to say, forget it, I'm going to find somebody else. I didn't, because it was this little man and it was this local company. And I just thought I wanted my business to some cute little old man. Darn. I don't know what the issue is. Is it still fuzzy? Still fuzzy? Okay. Should I hang up and then rejoin? I don't know if that would help. Okay. All right, let me leave and I'll jump right back on, I guess.
Brittany, do you have a hotspot on your phone?
No.
Okay.
I've been on calls all day and I haven't had any issues, so this is really strange.
It's better now.
It's better?
It just comes on really quick and all of a sudden it's like, we can't hear you.
Weird. I don't know what it would be.
No, I think you muted yourself.
Now we for sure can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to just keep working through this quickly. Let me know if you can't hear. Okay. So we go back 27 different times. I was at the point where I should have just said, you know what, I'm going to find somewhere else. The lesson is, if you feel off with a client, is it fuzzy again? Okay, hold on.
It's probably all that sand from the Sahara. It's swirling around her mom's house in Florida. It's always the sand. And if you guys have questions, just put it in the chat too. Hey, Lisa, you just joined us and Brittany was on and she had to disconnect and is calling back. So just so you know, we're not just all sitting here doing nothing.
Okay, maybe if I do it from my phone, it'll be better.
That sounds better.
Is this better?
Yep.
Oh no.
It was good, and then you froze. Maybe we can just have a bathroom break if anybody wants to run to the bathroom. If you can't hold it for a full hour. Well, I will not waste time here. Shameless plug for Spark starting on Monday, 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Our guest speaker is going to be Chad. He will be on 3 to 4. We're going to be doing it in the training room, and it will be on Zoom. And in the email I sent out, I talked about the fact that you can invite other agents. Obviously from our office, you can also invite other agents from other brokerages that you might want to invite.
Okay, is this better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am so sorry. Okay, I'm gonna just do this from my phone. So hopefully then we don't have any internet issues. Is that good?
Yes, perfect.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Okay,
Good.
Perfect. All right, so sorry. Now I gotta see if I can get my phone to stay up. Otherwise I'll just hold it. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your patience. All right, so here's what I was saying. With these darn invitations, we went back 27 times in email, and I finally was thinking, like, forget it. I need to move on. I just felt so compelled to help this small little printing business. So at the same time, I'm looking at this through a lens of how many clients get frustrated working with us as agents because we allow it to get to that of so much back and forth, even with text. So my rule number 3 is communicate expectations. Now you may think expectations, I mean, this is a print shop. What kind of expectations do you want him to set? You get to be the leader in the whole event of buying or selling a house. So you get to decide how it's going to go. And if you get to a point where you feel off with your client or, wow, I actually have quite a few questions, let me pick up the phone and call them. If this print shop would have just called me, we could have cleared it all up immediately. Instead, we just kept going back and forth with all these questions. And it's like, what is going on here? How did we get so off track? So just remember that salespeople help people make decisions. And if you're all over the place, they're never going to be able to make a decision. And make doing business with you easy. So there's so much wrapped up into that one. And the overall umbrella of it is communicate expectations. So let me give you an example of how you can use this in your business. One thing where deals often go sideways is during inspection. So when you're representing the seller, let's say we schedule the inspection and where you call and confirm the inspection is tomorrow at noon. Okay, great. It's going to take 4 hours or whatever it is that you're telling them. And most agents leave it at that. Okay, inspection scheduled. Well, you're not setting expectations in that conversation. So here's what I would recommend. Say, okay, so here's what's going to happen. The inspector's going to show up at noon. They're going to do their inspection. Maybe the agent will be there as well, perhaps the buyer as well. They're going to do their inspection. It typically takes the inspector 24 hours before they get the report back to the buyer. Then the buyer and the agent discuss the inspection. If they have any concerns, they discuss that between the buyer and agent. Then they come to us and let us know. So we may not hear anything about this inspection for a couple days. And I just want to let you know, if you don't hear anything from me, don't panic. As soon as I hear anything at all, I'll let you know. Because what happens, 4 o'clock hits, the sellers come back into their home, they're blowing up your phone saying, what did you hear on the inspection? Did everything go okay? And you're like, do they not understand? No, they don't understand because they don't do this every day. So constantly saying, okay, here's what's going to happen, or here's what'll happen next. And constantly set those expectations and communicate, because it can keep us away from the issue of having to go back and forth 27 times like the wedding invitation printer guy. So that's rule number 3. Number 4 is always close. Always close. When I was on a listing appointment, particularly when I was new in the role, I would go on the appointment and we'd get to the end and I'm like, I think they like me. I think they're going to hire me. And they're like, okay, well, everything that you've said sounds great. So we'll be in touch. We'll give you a call. I didn't know what to say to close them. How do I get them to sign? And this is something that I don't think a lot of us talk about as agents, is like, we get to the end of the presentation and then we think it's going to happen naturally, and sometimes it doesn't. And then how do we handle that? So the rule is always close. And for me, my closing question was, do you have any concerns about listing with me? No, everything sounds great. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do next is I'll have you sign right here. That's how I led into it. And it's a really easy way to close. Now, there's so much we could go into about that specific to listing appointments. However, I just want you to know that what the aha for me really came with the inside sales agent on our team would set the appointment. I'd go on the appointment. I'd leave, not closing. And then the ISA would say, so what happened? How did it go? Are they going to list with you? And I'd say, well, no, they said they'd call me in a couple days. Well, why didn't they sign today? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I think it went well. I couldn't even answer. Like, well, I don't even know what they're thinking about. And it really came down to, I didn't ask enough questions at the end and I didn't close. So with my closing question, do you have any concerns about listing with me? No, everything's great. Okay, we go for the sign. If they say, no, everything's great, I say, are you sure? Because you kind of hesitated. So what are your concerns? And then it comes out. Or they're going to say, yeah, we do have some concerns. We really want a local agent or someone who lives in the neighborhood. See, now I have the opportunity to address whatever it is that's on their mind. Whereas before, I just didn't ask the question, didn't close, and thought, okay, well, I guess they'll hire me if they like me, and I'll wait to hear from them. So that was a major aha for me, and it really stemmed from the ISA and my coach, Olivia, saying, well, what happened with this appointment? Or what's going on with this appointment? And when I couldn't answer the question, I thought, oh gosh, I need to ask more questions in the listing appointment. So that's number 4, always close. Number 5, motivation is everything. I'm just going to tell you straight up that one. Motivation is everything. And you're like, duh, I know this. Yes. And do you really get that? Because there's so much we could talk about with this one. Please understand that when we talk about scripts and memorizing scripts and what to say, and if they say this, then we say this, it does not matter how good of a script you have. Mm-hmm. You're never going to make an unmotivated person buy or sell. It does not matter how good of a script you have. You're never going to get an unmotivated buyer to list or sell. So let's talk about it as it pertains to the listing appointment. And a lot of these tie into each other, so they're not just all exclusive. With rule number 1 being ask questions, it also ties into this motivation question, because remember the example with the restaurant. He could have pushed and pushed and pushed to sell this lake steak and lobster. You don't want dinner. You don't want a big meal. It doesn't matter how good it is, you're not going to buy it. Same goes for buyers and sellers. It doesn't matter that interest rates are low and you're the number one agent. If they're not ready to buy, they're not going to buy. So when we take this into specifically the listing appointment, we have to understand every last detail about why they're selling and why it's important to them in order to be the best agent for them, period. Because if they say, we're in financial trouble and we need to sell ASAP, that affects how we list the property, how soon we get it listed, what price we list it at, how soon we're going to adjust the price if we don't get an offer right away. Whereas if we have someone that says, you know, we'd really like to move into a different house, it's not a dire need, here's the price, let's go for it, we're right in line with the market. However, we do have a bottom line that we're not willing to go below. And oh, by the way, we want to repaint the whole house and put in new carpet before we do it. Changes the timeline, changes when we're going to list, changes the price, changes how long we're going to be listed, changes how often we're going to do the price adjustments, if any. So you've got to fully understand their motivation in order to be the best agent for them. So that's number 5. Number 6 is, well, let me tell you a little story with this one before I tell you what it is. Has anyone seen the Michael Jordan documentary called The Last Dance? And I can't see everybody, so just answer for yourself. It is so good. It's all about just Michael Jordan and his story. It's so good. So let me ask you, and you can answer again in your head. Watching the documentary, Michael Jordan has an air of confidence, to say the least. I mean, he thinks he's the best and he knows he's the best. However, he had that about him before he became the Michael Jordan that we know him as. He had that within him before he became number one. He had that belief that he was the best. So rule number 6 is you've got to believe you are the best, or you'll never get there. If you don't believe you're the best, how are you going to convince somebody to hire you? This is about the energy that you're going to walk into the door with. Because I'm telling you right now, every single appointment I went on, I thought they're making the biggest mistake of their life if they don't list with me. Truly. I felt so confident in my ability. I felt confident in my team's ability. I felt confident in price, the stager, the photos, the marketing, everything that we're going to do. I knew we as a team were the very, very best real estate option for that client. And if you don't feel that about yourself or your team or whoever you're working with, yes, it's a mindset thing. And the other piece of it is, who do you need to become, or who do you need to align yourself with so that you feel so hell-bent confident about what you're providing to your clients? Because this is not just about a team. This is about your team of who are your lenders, who are your inspectors, who are the title companies you partner with. Are you working with the best of the best? Because I knew we were. I knew everything about the real estate industry. We were the best of the best. So what changes do you need to make in your business so that you have that tenacity, that fire like Michael Jordan did? And he raised everyone else up around him. So number 6 is believe you are the best. All right, and the last one, secret number 7, is use your intuition. And you're like, oh, really? What does she even mean by that? Okay, let me tell you. And I, again, we could go into each one of these like whole separate class, use your intuition. I went on a listing appointment once, and I'm sitting there with the seller, and I'm going through like my normal routine, and I was telling her about the next steps. So it was towards the end of the appointment, and I'm telling her about the next steps. And I said, and then we would put the sign in the yard and the lockbox on the door, and I'm telling her about that. And I stopped mid-sentence, and I said, I'm sorry, did I say something that made you feel uncomfortable? And she goes, how did you know? And I was like, kind of freaked me out. I thought, I don't know. How did I know that? And I was like, I don't know. I had this feeling. And she goes, yes, I'm so scared you're going to sell my house so quickly that I'm not going to have anywhere to live. Now, what's interesting is it had nothing to do with what I was talking about. I was talking about the lockbox. I was talking about, I thought she was going to say, we don't want a sign in the yard, because some people say that. No, it had nothing to do with what I was talking about. And I don't know if it was her body language. I don't know if she sat back or had this look on her face or what it was. And, we can get a feeling too. I was so in tune with that seller, and it was an aha moment for me of when I am totally tuned into the client and I am not thinking about what's for dinner or, oh gosh, I got to get the kids this, or I got to do this, or I got to clean the house. When I'm not thinking about any of these other things, I can be way more powerful. Yes, living in the moment, there is so much to be said about that. And I would sometimes lose track of time because I'm so engaged with that seller and I'm so there with them that nothing else matters. And this comes with time, because what happens when we are newer agents, all we're thinking about is, what are they thinking about me? What am I going to say next? I'm forgetting what I'm going to say. You're even thinking, what objections are they going to throw at me? You're replaying your scripts in your head. Drop all of that and just sit where you're at and really think about that client and use your intuition. Because here's what happens in the listing appointment. When you walk in the door, they're saying yes to you. And you guys have heard this before. They're at a yes when you walk in the door. Yeah, we want to meet with you, Brittany. Come on over. They're at a yes the whole, time that you're maybe walking through the house and you sit down at the table. And there is a split second moment in time where they go from a yes to a no. And when you can read when that moment is, you can recover. So let's say, this lady, let's say I plowed right through, didn't stop, didn't ask, is there something you're concerned about? I get the sense that you have something on your mind. Let's say I plowed right through, didn't say that. We would have immediately lost rapport, lost connection. And she would have said, Brittany, no, we don't have an interest in selling anymore. And I would have thought, oh gosh, what did I do wrong? Instead, it really had nothing to do with that. What it does though, is allows for us to talk about that, because now I can address her concern of she's scared we're going to sell the house too fast and she's not going to be able to find a new one. So when you can get really good at being in the moment, you'll notice when that split second happens. And it could be, here's another example, open houses. If I was talking about, marketing, and I say, we'll do an open house right after we list, and then I carry on. If I sense something's off, I could say, I'm sorry, are you concerned about something? Or was there something I said that made you feel concerned? Well, we met with another agent who said they would do an open house every week, every Saturday. Well, we want to know that, and we want to talk about that. And oftentimes they don't even bring it up, and they make a decision behind closed doors without us having any fight, if you will, or any chance. So when we can really follow that, we can tune into where is their opinion of us changing, or their opinion of working with us, and how can we recover that? So, and then the next question is, well, how do you get better at your intuition? And that's a whole nother topic. So I know I've thrown a lot at you guys today. These truly were the 7 things that when I looked at what do I felt gave me a slight edge as an agent, these are 7 things that I'm like, everybody can do this. Everybody can put all of these things into practice and and they shaped, you know, my presentation and what I said and questions I asked. So there's so much more that we can go into, and I know we're just about out of time. So I know that at the team meeting, I had mentioned that I would have the opportunity for you guys to get my listing presentation. And I want to say I do not have that ready to purchase yet. As soon as I do, I will send that over to all of you. I'll send you the link. So Jessica, I don't know if you want to send me everyone's email, or if you want to have them throw it in the chat if they're interested, and I can keep them posted on when I have it complete and I'm ready to share that. I'd love to send them the link.
Sure. I'll take a screenshot of all of us right now.
Okay.
And then I will follow up.
Okay, great. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention, and this is something that how Jessica and I connected, is I have a monthly membership as well. So if you enjoyed what you're hearing today, we go into much, much more in my membership program. And the membership is $49 a month. Every Monday, we do an hour-long training on mindset topics, tactical topics, marketing topics, and yeah, I think that pretty much covers it, actually. So we hit on a bunch of different topics on Mondays. We do accountability in numbers, so you are held accountable to your goals. And then Tuesday through Friday, I am available for an hour each day for anyone to join and ask any question that they have. So a lot of agents will pop on, ask questions. Some pop on and just listen in. I tell them, I'm like, if you're doing laundry or doing dishes or checking email and you just want to have me on in the background while you're listening to other people ask questions and learn in that way, totally great. So so that's the membership, and it's a great place for, if you're like, you know what, I love the accountability, I don't want the expense of a one-on-one coach. It's a really great place to mastermind with other agents, have a sense of community, and basically have me in your back pocket for any questions that might come up. We talk about like just yesterday, we were talking about multiple offers and what we can do to make the offer more acceptable. We talked about a very specific offer with a VA buyer, and he needed concessions. And we had a conversation around call the lender, ask these questions. Here's what I would recommend. Yeah, I mean, we get questions of all kinds, and Jessica is a part of that group with me. So if you have any questions about her experience during that, just let her know. Otherwise, like I said, it's $49 a month. And if you're interested, I can, well, I was going to post the link, but now I'm on my phone. So I can send it out to you all in your email when I send out that email. So I know we're like getting close to the top of the hour. I want to open it up to general questions about anything that I've covered today or anything about the membership or listing presentation. So, Jessica, do you want to, let me see if I can pull up the chat here. Okay, I don't see any questions yet. Or you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you so much. I remember listening to this before, and it's funny, you take different things out of things when you hear it again, you know, like,
yes,
I had an experience where I was at a listing and I was like, oh my God, I think I actually did ask them about their hydrangeas or hostas or something, you know, like the thing is like, they're moving, like, who cares about their garden? Like, they're not even gonna have any more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Is there anything, Jessica, because I know when we were prepping for this, I know you were going to jump in and ask some questions, and I didn't even allow you to do that, so I apologize. I just powered right through. I just thought, we lost a little bit of time with the internet issue. Is there anything you think that I could expand on from your perspective?
Well, we have a question from an agent, Ronnie. What are tactics to sign the listing if they are interviewing multiple agents? And
okay, this is good. Yes. And no, you're not a rookie. So get that out of your language. Think like Michael Jordan. Okay. My answer to that is twofold, which you're going to find if you join the membership. Oftentimes I have a twofold answer. And that is, there are scripts, right? To if they're interviewing other agents, we know the script for that. And here's what I want you to understand first before we talk about what script to use. There is a difference between a seller who's genuinely interested in listing with you, and the seller who just wants you to leave and doesn't want to tell you to your face that they don't want to hire you. There's a difference. And when you can use your intuition and be settled in and be focused, you will be able to tell. With the person who's genuinely interested in listing with you, and I'm sorry that I'm going to go against popular opinion here, because we're taught, don't leave until you get the signature. Use the script. For my personality, I'm telling you right now, if I was selling my house, I don't care if I was impressed, over the moon, love you to death, love the price, love your marketing, everything about you, I want to hire you. I'm never going to sign right then and there. I'm always going to interview at least one, maybe two other people, and I'm never going to sign the same day. That is my personality, and maybe some of you are just like me. No matter how much I love you, I'm not going to sign right then and there. So if you're going to sit there and script me and push me and push me, I'm going to be turned away by that. Okay. So remember, I'm giving you a twofold answer. When you know they're genuinely interested in you and they've totally engaged with you and they're going to interview other agents, I'm going to default to just ask questions. So when are you interviewing the other agents? When do you plan on making a decision? How did you find the other agents? What's most important to you? Now, I'm not just going to drill on. I'm just giving you some examples of how this conversation might go. What are some things you're looking for in an agent, or what's most important to you? Now, if you know they've met with some people already, I always say, is there anything that you were impressed with the other agents that I haven't mentioned here today? Is there anything that another agent has said that I haven't said, or anything that they said they would do for you that I haven't brought up today? I mean, I want to stay there for as long as I can to get as much information, because this is where you kind of do some digging and you may uncover there's something important to them that you haven't discussed yet. So hear me on that. If you know they're engaged with you and they're that personality that you think, oh, they're kind of seem like they're just going to interview someone no matter what, stay and ask as many questions as you can to get as much information as you can. Now, on the flip side of it, if this person is just kind of pushing you out the door and you feel like you've lost that connection, or you feel like something's off, my advice to you is going to be the same. It's always ask more questions. There are some things that we can do though with See what happens is sometimes, so when I go back to this point of use your intuition. Oh, you have to do the next Zoom. Okay, so sorry. Yeah, we're like 3 minutes over. I'm sorry. So let me just end it really quickly and say, when you use your intuition, you can avoid even getting into that situation where you feel you've lost a connection. You can always use those scripts of, all the scripts that you guys already know about interviewing other agents. So I'm going to leave it there because you guys already know the script, so we won't go into that. Jessica, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here. I trust this was helpful for you, and I'll send you all the information that I shared with you today.
Yes. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye.